AIT News.
And to help us to discuss more on the presidential pardon is a legal practitioner. He's joining us live in the studio. He is Chibueze Maduka. Welcome to the AIT News Hour.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm sure you have a very strong reaction to this pardon, being a lawyer. Look at the various crimes, drug trafficking, murder. Some of them are quite recent and still very fresh in our memories. What do you make of this? Do you think this pardon is justified?
Okay, it depends on which side you choose to look at it. So for starters, we can look at it from the legal point of view or the constitutional point of view. Then we can look at it from the societal point of view. And then we can look at it, what's the point or what's the reason why we have presidential pardons, or we call it prerogative of mercy. So if you look at it from the constitutional point of view, the president, of course, has the powers. He has a prerogative to grant such pardons, and you can see that in section 175 of the Constitution. So what we are looking at is the first part, which is the pardon. He also has the right to grant respite or reduce a harsher sentence to a lesser sentence. For example, someone has been sentenced to death, the president can commute it to life imprisonment or possibly 10 years imprisonment. So he has about 4 categories of that power to exercise, of course, after consultation with the Council of State. So that's on the constitutional point of view, which he has the power to do, and he's not the only president to have done it.
Yes.
Buhari did it, Goodluck Jonathan did it, and it's not exclusive to Nigeria. President Trump has pardoned people under controversial circumstances. Biden pardoned people even from few days to his leaving power. So presidents have power to do it.
But even someone on death row, I want you to educate us on that. Someone on death row, then the person, it's okay for the president to just get a straight pardon and not a reduced sentence.
And that's why I said you have to first look at it from the constitutional point of view.
Okay.
It's a power given to the president, which he can exercise however he wants to do it. And it's someone akin to the power of the Attorney General for nolle prosequi, where the Attorney General can discontinue a trial regardless of what the person is standing trial for. It's a prerogative of the Attorney General. That's the constitutional point of view. So when we understand the constitutional point of view, we can now look at it from the public opinion point of view. We are looking at the crimes that we are committed. And then when you look at the reason why the prerogative of mercy was first brought in, we're looking at a situation where you are doing things to strengthen the confidence of people in the judiciary. For example, let's assume the judiciary has done something legally right, but the sentence is harsh. And I'll give a case in point. There's a recent case that rocked the boat, State versus Jackson. I think the guy's name was Jackson. The guy that the Supreme Court convicted, sentenced to death for killing a herdsman that wanted to attack him in his farm. It's a very recent case. The Supreme Court sentenced him. For cases like that, that's why the prerogative of mercy was brought into play. Oh, legally, the court was right. However, public opinion-wise, and looking at the facts of the case, we can grant this guy mercy, either to commute the sentence or to pardon him entirely. So the reasons for this prerogative of mercy is for the president to kind of bring people together. So let's assume the one that was granted to the likes of Ojukwu after the Civil War, some of these guys. So that's why it's brought in. So when the president is seen to be granting these kind of things for the kind of crimes that was mentioned, people start asking the question,
exactly,
does the president really want to fight crime, or is he encouraging crime? And this in light of the fact that I work also volunteer for an NGO, I sit on the board of an NGO, Restorative Justice for Africa Initiative, where we go to all the prisons and we see people that are incarcerated, some people on remand orders, some people have been there, and these people also need prerogative of mercy. Some of them don't have any connection. These are the places where prerogative of mercy should go to. The president should be seen going to the prisons, or if not going to the prisons, through the different arms of government, granting some of these guys. But when we are now seeing things like drug trafficking, then the question is, are we encouraging these crimes? That when you are convicted, tomorrow you will know someone that is the president, and then you'll be pardoned. Then the next question, what about the victims of these crimes? What happens to them? What are we going to do about them? How do we make those children that have lost their father, the people that have been kidnapped, the people that drugs have wrecked their life? What are we telling them?
Mr. Chibueze Maduka, you talked about strengthening the judiciary with the prerogative of mercy. Would you say that this exercise of clemency aligns with the spirit of, justice and rule of law? When you go by the fact that there are some very recent cases where somebody killed the husband. There are very recent cases of people who are insurgents against the state. There are very recent cases of people who particularly are involved in drugs and all that. And the agencies that were supposed to handle these cases went through a lot to get it, and the court process, went through a lot as well to put these people behind bars, and just in less than, say, 5 years or something. So they've been released based on prerogative of mercy. Does this really align with the spirit of justice and rule of law?
Rule of law, yes, like I said, is in line with the law. All the president needs to do is to consult with, what do they call that again, Council of State before he grants that. Rule of law, yes, and rule of law is when things are done in accordance with the law. So if the president did that, that's fine. But for justice, that's a different case altogether. Okay. Like we say in court, justice is a two-way street. Justice is both for the claimant and the defendant. In criminal cases, we are talking of is a three-way street. Justice for the state, justice for the victim, then justice for the accused. So when we talk of justice for the accused, it means that the proper ways of trial should be done. The person should be given fair trial, right to defend himself. Justice for the state is that the person that committed the crime should be seen to be convicted and punished. And for the victim should get respite. In this case, these things have not given justice to the victims. It has not given justice to the state. Like you rightly mentioned, resources have been spent in getting these people behind bars. We've had cases where they would pay IRT guys, intelligence report, to go all the way to a distant place. I think recently some police officers were killed on the road when they went to get a kidnapper, a notorious kidnapper. Some soldiers shot them on the road in the course of duty. So imagine people have gone through all of these things to get people behind bars, and then the president comes and grants them prerogative of mercy. And we think it's a dubious exercise of that power, although within the confines of the law, but it does a lot to weaken the judiciary, weaken the justice system, weaken the belief people have in the state. And again, like I said, people will not start thinking that crime pays, really, because if I can do this tomorrow, if you become the president, all I need to do is put a phone call to you and you can tell me, I'm forgiven for killing somebody that doesn't know anybody. And then what happens? The major question is, what about the victims of these crimes? What happens to them? Who is talking about them? Who is asking about them? What has the state in store for them? Okay.
I want to thank you so much, Chibueze, for joining us on the News Hour. Thank you so much. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll